going to be talking about a super important subject for most of you guys, which is finding part-time and casual work while you're studying here in Australia. What kind of work is available? What are you allowed to do? And how are you protected from anyone that might want to try and take advantage of you? By the end of this video, you're going to know the different sorts of work that's available, the sorts of amounts that you can expect to be paid, and if something goes wrong, what you can do about it. How good is this?
Yeah, it's awesome.
G'day and welcome to Choosing Your Uni. I'm Rob Malicki, and today we are at the spectacular Kings Canyon in Central Australia. This place has to be seen to be believed. And while we do that, we're going to have a look around this absolutely unbelievable little part of Australia. Thanks for joining me. Let's go have an adventure. Well, firstly, are you allowed to work in Australia when you're studying here? The answer is yes, and that's good news. Student visas allow you to work up to 20 hours per week, which is reasonable, right? Because along with your studying work, your classes and everything else, if you added on more than 20 hours a week of work, it's going to be too much. So plenty of hours of availability there for you in your visa. What kind of work is available for students when you're in Australia? Well, of course, there's the whole range of regular casual jobs. So if you work in hospitality or tourism, in restaurants or retail, so working in shops, you know, selling clothes or whatever it might be, there's plenty of just part-time casual work available for that sort of stuff. Does it pay the best? No, it doesn't pay the best, but it can pay the bills, and that's all we're looking for, really, isn't it? The other thing that is probably most important for most people is that you want to try and get some work in an area that is completely relevant to your degree. So how do you do that? Well, you want to start by perhaps volunteering for an organisation, or maybe doing an internship with an organisation that you might eventually want to work for, because often that volunteer kind of work will turn into casual or part-time work when they have it available. So always looking to make those connections and do the right thing by people. Make the most of your experience. Not only does it add to your resume, but it does open doors for you, and that's where you might just chance on the perfect casual or part-time job. Do you have any questions or comments about working in Australia? Please hit me up in the comments below and I will get back to you. Let's talk about protection for you as somebody working in a casual or part-time job in Australia, because Australia has great protections for all workers, not just university students, which is great. Firstly, we have a minimum wage. At time of filming, that's about 19 Australian dollars an hour, which is pretty generous, and that generally goes up every year. So no matter what work you're in, you should be getting paid at least around about that $19 or $20 per hour, if you're a casual, of course. Now, if you're not, we have a whole government department called Fair Work Australia. It's essentially an agency which is there to protect workers, to make sure they're not being ripped off and underpaid. And so if you're having problems, if you feel like you're not being treated fairly, you can actually lodge a complaint with Fair Work Australia. They do investigate and they do look after workers very well. You're also entitled to what's called superannuation. Essentially, that's like money that gets set aside for your retirement. That's 10% extra on top of your regular earnings. So it's definitely worth making sure that you are getting paid your superannuation. Now, if you're trying to get some work on the black market, get paid under the table, so to speak, you don't have those protections, and you don't have the coverage of Fair Work Australia necessarily, and you don't get superannuation. But if you claim ignorance and you go to Fair Work Australia, because you've been paid on the black market, they can look after you as well. So everybody is entitled to those protections. It's been an extraordinary pleasure to take you around Kings Canyon, also called Taka by the traditional owners of this land. As you can see, one of the most beautiful and diverse landscapes in all of Australia. And talking about finding work is such a critical topic for you.